Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Hooked on Sports here on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and wherever you get your podcasting streaming services. My name is Sean Flynn, and thank you so very much for listening to the podcast. Once again, it is Thursday, September the 25th, and we are ready to go to look at week 4 of the NFL season. So thank you for watching on YouTube or listening on Apple Podcast and Spotify, wherever you get podcasting streaming services. I have a quick turnaround, so let's get right to some of the games I'm looking to watch in terms of how things gonna shake up in the NFL picture on Sunday, starting with the unbeaten Eagles and the unbeaten Bucks. I think this is gonna be a fascinating game on so many different levels. And I think you look at the Eagles based upon what happened last week, the thrilling comfort behind victory, how they played down the stretch of that game against the Rams. That was one of the better wins, the better regular season wins the Philadelphia Eagles have had over the last 20 or so years. So this is what we call like one of the highs of highs for the Philadelphia Eagles. But I think you gotta look at what's been going on with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the Eagles going down to Tampa, where they've historically had problems, early in seasons. So I am really fascinated to see how that's going to transpire here. And I think I think things we gotta look out for in this game is can Baker Mayfield protect the football again? Because according to PFF, so Baker Mayfield has had 7 turnover-worthy plays so far. So it's been also kind of luck, but also being able to find ways to win games despite making mistakes. And the Bucks, they've had they're 3-0. They've had 3 come from behind victories where they were down with in the last 2 minutes of the game, and they came back and won. And that's a huge credit to Baker Mayfield and 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 the coaching staff involved there. But this is a much taller task for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for the game coming up on Sunday than what they've experienced the first 3 weeks of the season, which has been grossly underperforming teams. The Jets are 0-3. The Falcons have won with just one game. The Houston Texans are 0-3. And that now we're going to see which Buccaneers team is going to show up coming up on Sunday. I think the second game during the daytime I'm going to keep my eyes on. It's the game between the Minnesota Vikings and the Pittsburgh Steelers in Dublin. It's the first ever NFL game in Ireland, and it's going to be in Dublin. And you might probably see the two of the best defensive lines in the NFL. They are loaded. They have a lot of dudes on both defensive lines. Terrell Austin, Brian Flores are superb coordinators. So what I'm going to be looking for this game is which offensive line is going to be best able to protect their quarterbacks, and that's really where this game is gonna come down to. So as someone who is Irish, this is such a wonderful thing for us to see. And now when we look at these games, it's going to be a matter of and also a matter of which quarterback can protect the football. And of course, JJ McCarthy is not playing in this game. Carson Wentz is going to get the start for the Minnesota Vikings coming up on Sunday. And look, you got the Steelers' defensive front wrecked that game against the Patriots on Sunday. That they forced 5 turnovers, and that was basically the difference between the two teams, between winning and losing that game. So Pittsburgh's going to have to keep disrupting the flow of the offense. So definitely a tall task for Kevin O'Connell and company. Another big game we want you to keep your eyes on is the 4:25 p.m. Eastern game on CBS between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Baltimore Ravens. And there's of course a lot of history between Lamar and Mahomes. They've met so many times before. The last time the two teams met was at Arrowhead on the season opener last year, where the game and the last play of the game was Isaiah Likely as his toe was out of bounds for that potential touchdown to either tie it or potentially win the game if they went for 2 in that situation. But Baltimore defensively is kind of a mess, and they have the 32nd ranked total defense. So they're 31st against the pass, and they're 32nd against the run. So I think it's going to be important though for them to get some of their key guys back and really get a load on stopping the run. So I'm looking for the Ravens to do that. And then what about Kansas City? You're still three games away from getting Rashee Rice back from that 6-game suspension, but I just don't know if they're what type of team they're going to be now. The idea should be so that Xavier Worthy is going to be back and ready, but that is far from a guarantee when he can get back to playing at a high level. He did, however, participate fully in practice on yesterday for the Chiefs. So I'm very much looking to see how that game is going to transpire coming up on Sunday between those two squads. And remember, the loser of this game is going to drop to 1-3. So a lot of pressure on both teams to win. The Chiefs, obviously, with the Chargers 3-0 and having the 3 wins in the division already. So that's a bit gigantic deal. And then of course the Ravens, they're 1-2. They lost twice in prime time in inexplicable fashion. So there's a lot riding on this game because both teams are thinking Super Bowl. So but one of them is going to start 1-3. Another game that's quietly flying under the radar, and actually both games between AFC South and NFC West teams are flying under the radar here. Jags Niners, I think, could be a really interesting game. The Jags are 2-1, the Niners are 3-0, and the Niners received devastating news that Nick Bosa suffered a torn ACL and his season is over. So there's going to be a huge test early on for the San Francisco 49ers in terms of trying to get back to the pack here for that. And then the last game I think is going to be important here is the game between the Indianapolis Colts and the Los Angeles Rams, where Colts are unbeaten. This should have been another matchup of unbeaten teams, but it had not been for the Rams' collapse against Philadelphia. But But Jonathan Taylor has been superb. Daniel Jones has been the NFL's reclamation project for 2025. And I believe you look at you look at these teams, and this is really a test for both of them, because the Rams, how they respond to how they lost that game, and the Colts, a team that's beaten Miami, should have lost to Denver had it not been for that penalty, and then they took down the artists formerly known as the Tennessee Titans in the game on Sunday. So, well, without any further ado, let's pull up the spreads for the week. Let's get to it. So last week I went 10-6, picking the winners and losers. I was 7-9 against the spread. So for the season, I am 33-15 straight up and 20-28 against the spread. So starting with the game on Thursday night, and this is kind of a fascinating game. We got the Arizona Cardinals and the Seattle Seahawks, with the Cardinals favor as a 1.5-point dog. But look, when the season started, I thought I thought the NFC West was going to be competitive. I thought Seattle was going to be the best fourth place team in the NFL this upcoming season, but both teams, the Seahawks had wins against the Steelers and the Saints. And then the Cardinals, so they almost knocked off the 49ers in Frisco, despite not playing well for the vast majority of that game. But I think the Cardinals are going to have some opportunities in this game. I think this is going to be a game where I think they'll be a bounce back performance for Marvin Harrison Jr. I think it's going to be a bounce back for Kyler Murray. And I think I think with this being a short week, both teams coming off games on the West Coast, I feel like it's got a short week is going to favor the home team. So I'm going to take the Cardinals to win this game by a score of 27-24. Let's go to the London game between the Minnesota Vikings and the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Vikings are favored by 2.5 points here, and I can't wait for this one and how this is gonna shake up. But give me the Minnesota Vikings to win. I think the matchup between Rodgers' limited mobility and that Vikings defensive front, I think, is going to be a mismatch that favors Minnesota. I think Kevin O'Connell is going to dial up a good plan for Carson Wentz to make sure he protects the football. But I think the Vikings are the better team. Give me them to win. Get them to cover. I have them by a score of 27-20. Over the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I think it's also going to be a result of the Vikings being able to run the football better with Jordan Mason in the backfield, sharing the backfield with Carson Wentz. This was a tricky game to pick, the Washington Commanders and the Atlanta Falcons. And in this game, the Commanders come in as 1.5-point favorites. But I feel like this is a bounce back for the Falcons after that debacle against the Panthers last week. And if it wasn't for those mind-numbing mistakes, that it could have been a much competitive game. But I don't think this is going to be a game where the Falcons don't get to the opponent's 30-yard line. I don't think this is going to be a game where they just look completely lost. But the thing is, the Commanders are banged up going into this game. Jaden Daniels, even if he plays, he's not going to be 100%. Terry McLaurin's quad injury scares the hell out of me. So with that in mind, I'm taking the Falcons to win the game by a score of 21-16 over the Commanders. The Bills and the Saints. The Bills are 15.5-point favorites. That's a huge line here. but I'm going to take the Bills to win and cover 37-16. The Detroit Lions are 10-point favorites at home against the Cleveland Browns. And look, I'm taking the Cleveland Browns. And the Browns' run defense has been exceptional. They've allowed the second fewest points to running backs, fantasy points to running backs this season. And the running backs they faced have been Chase Brown with a healthy Joe Burrow. And then they played Derrick Henry, and he was held to 23 yards and 11 carries, and Josh Jacobs didn't fare much better as well. This is going to be a game the Browns are going to be in. Their defensive line is better than anyone. Their defense is better than any of us anticipated. So I'm going to take the Lions to win, obviously, but I think the Browns are going to be in this game, so I'm going to grab the points with the Cleveland Browns. Texans favored by 7 in Houston, but Houston's offense has been dreadful for the first 3 weeks of the season, and with that, but look, I think that the Titans are going to have some matchups in this game, and we could and we're going to have to see if Derek Stingley is going to be able to play in this game, but it's a division game. It's 7 points. It's too much for me. I'm going to grab the points, but I think the Texans pick up their first win, but winning 20-17. The Panthers and the Patriots are played in Foxborough, with the Patriots favored according to what I see here are 4.5 points. And I love the Patriots in this game. I think the Patriots are going to win. I think the Patriots are going to cover. And I think the Panthers playing on the road, I think is going to be a problem here, and in road games, Bryce Young is 1-14 on the road, as a pro. So so I think this is going to be a good game for Drake May, a good game for Travion Henderson. I think they'll finally have that running back room resolved. And so by the time we get into get into things coming up there, so Patriots win 23-13 over the Panthers. The Chargers are favored by 6 points. On the road in New York, taking on the Giants in Jackson Dart's NFL debut. Jackson Dart is making his first NFL start for the Giants on Sunday. I'm just concerned for Jackson Dart. I mean, the offensive line has played better, making Brian Daboll comfortable and going towards Jackson Dart as the starter, but I just think this Chargers team is too good. I think the Chargers are going to win. I think they're going to cover. I think big game for Marion Hampton. Big game for everybody. For Justin Herbert, who has been maybe the third best quarterback in the NFL this season. So he's playing on a high level. Great job by the Chargers coming back and knocking off the Broncos on Sunday. And this is the first non-division game of the season for the Chargers, but nonetheless, I think the physicality is going to overwhelm the Giants, and I have them winning 24-13. The Philadelphia Eagles, they are 3.5-point favorites on the road in Tampa, taking on Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And look, I'm going to take the Eagles to win. Eagles cover. I think this is an opportunity for the Eagles to improve to 4-0. The Bucks are banged up in this have some banged up injuries. Mike Evans is not walking through that door. Chris Godwin is supposed to be back and playing, but it's going to be a while to see how that's going to go. And all the Eagles have to do is contain Emeka Egbuka, and they have a good shot at winning. And also remember, last year the Eagles were without A.J. Brown and they were without Devontae Smith. That was the last time the Eagles lost a game where Jalen Hurts played from start to finish. So that says something about the mentality of Jalen Hurts. Giving the Eagles to find a way to win, go to 4-0, and take cruise control of the NFC and win by a score of 27-20. I believe this game, the Rams or the Colts, is the single toughest game of the week for me to pick. The Rams are favored by 3.5 points at home, taking on the Indianapolis Colts here, coming up on Sunday. But I'm not the ones that make the schedule, but I feel like the Rams are going to win this game and bounce back. I see how the Colts can be competitive. I look at what Jonathan Taylor can do and Daniel Jones behind that offensive line. But I just think the Rams are the better team. I think the Colts they've had 2 blowout victories against inferior teams that are 0-3. But and their one good win being a 1-point win against the Broncos that came without didn't come without controversy. So I think the Rams bounce back and win this game by a score of 24-17. The Jacksonville Jaguars and the San Francisco 49ers, the 49ers are favored by 3.5 points. And look, Trevor Lawrence is 9-22 in his career on the road, and they typically don't perform well on the road. But there are 2 things that I think benefit the Jaguars. One, their offensive line has been exceptional, and Nick Bosa isn't playing in this game. So I think the Jaguars are going to stick around in this game. I think they're going to make it close, but I think the Niners will win another close one at the end. But so I'm going to pick the Niners to win 24-21 over the Jaguars. The Baltimore Ravens of the Kansas City Chiefs. The Ravens are favored by 2.5 points here, but I'm gonna pick the Ravens. I think that the Ravens are the more talented team, and I think they're the healthier team in this one. And the Chiefs have only covered the spread once in their last 6 home games, so I'm gonna pick the Ravens to win. A bounce back game for Derrick Henry, bounce back game for that defense. I think the defense is gonna be better than they've been the first 3 weeks, but I think the Ravens get the job done on the road, win 31-24 in Arrowhead against the Kansas City Chiefs. The Las Vegas Raiders are 1.5 point favorites against the Chicago Bears, but I feel like this is a breakout game for the Raiders. I don't think the Bears run defense is any good. They are the Bears are 26th in the NFL against the run. But I think this is the game where Ashton Genty shows out and introduces himself to the NFL. So and right now I trust Pete Carroll more than Ben Johnson. I think that this Bears team is going to come back down to earth a little bit. They had the opportunity of knocking off the Dallas Cowboys last week, so I think that that's going to be there. And also the Bears are banged up. Jalen Johnson isn't there. So I think matchups favor the Raiders. So I'm going to pick the Raiders. I think this is going to Raiders are going to win impressively here, win by a score of 31-16 over the Chicago Bears. Sunday Night Football on NBC. Micah Parsons returns to Dallas. The Packers are favored by 6.5 points. But I think this is a game where I think the Packers bounce back in a huge way, and I don't think the Packers were prepared for how good the Browns' run defense was, and I think that's what kept the Packers in that game, and was somewhat competitive. But CeeDee Lamb is gonna be not there, so I'm gonna pick the Packers to win 33-17. Monday Night Football, the Jets and the Dolphins on ESPN on Monday night. But I'm gonna pick the Jets to win, and I know how well Miami played on the road in Buffalo, but I think this is a game where I think Tyrod Taylor is going to bounce back, and I think So, and I think the Jets, they were competitive in 2 of their first 3 games of the season, but and I think Aaron Glenn's gonna get his first win of the season, and I think they'll be able to do a lot of different things against that suspect Miami defense. So give me the Jets pulling off the upset on the road. They win 27-24 in Miami. And finally, Monday Night Football on ABC. The Denver Broncos are favored by 7.5 points, taking on Jake Browning of the Cincinnati Bengals. And look, I am kind of concerned here about the Bengals, and it's not just the Bengals offense without Joe Burrow. Chase Brown has 47 carries for 93 yards. The offensive line has given up 10 sacks, and Cincinnati's defense gave up 27 points to the Jags, and 40 and the team as a whole gave up 48 points to Minnesota. And Jake Browning was not as good, nowhere near as good as he was a couple of years ago. And I think that defense is going to feast on the Cincinnati Bengals. Give me the Broncos to win by a score of 19-9 on Sunday. So those are your picks for week number 6, week number 4, excuse me, in the NFL. My name is John Flynn, saying so long. I'll be back here on the podcast next week. So long, everybody, and take care, everybody.